If you agree with me, even if you do not agree, but as you reflect on this thing, as you look at it, listen to what I've shared with you again and again, and look within yourself, because this God life, this life of faith and hope, it's not in looking outwardly, it's not to look externally, it is living your life from within. How do you look at yourself? How do you look at life? How do you view your relationship? How do you view yourself in relationship to the problems you are facing? So what does that mean? That means that as a God self, you believe you are invisible. You were created in the image and likeness of God. Now, you have a challenge before you. When you look at that challenge, that mountain, that depression, that anxiety, do you look at yourself as this person you see in the mirror, or do you look at yourself as a spirit being? Because how you look at yourself in relationship to the problems you are facing, it's a completely different story. I also went through my own trauma. I had my own struggles. What I experienced when I lost these women in my life was that it took me to a place where, it took me to a very dark place. A very dark, I can remember, it's like I can liken it to a very dark room. Every time I found myself in that room, in that state of consciousness, the next question that comes to my mind was, who is next? I became afraid of death. I became afraid of death so badly that I had to call to check on my loved ones almost every time. I'll just call. Is this person back? When this person is supposed to go to work, there's a thought that will just stem from my mind. Are you sure this person is going to be home? What if that person has an accident on the way? What if that person is taken to the hospital? It wasn't as if the person was sick or anything wrong. I was just in that state of constant fear because I've lost so many people in my life that I didn't know what I would do to be able to lose another one. So I got to that point where I was in constant fear of death, fear of losing someone. I wasn't afraid of me losing myself, because I was at that point where I was ready, because I could not bear my pain anymore. It was in that place where I started having this visitation, that I started having this revelation, because I cried to the point that my tears became my food. I had lost complete hope. I had lost hope in God. I had lost hope in myself. And I was in constant trauma. Every time I call, I can call when somebody is somewhere, I can call even 4 or 5 times. 5 times just to make sure that when they get home, I take that deep breath, knowing that this one is safe. Then I have to call, because is my phone going to ring? When somebody calls me, are they going to give me the bad news? I don't know if you've ever lived or experienced living in a place where you are constantly afraid of death, of losing someone you love. If you have ever experienced that, let me know in the comment below. But aside from that, I want to share with you how this truth helped me to overcome my fear of death, the fear of losing someone, So at that point, there was this still small voice inside of me that kept telling me things. Sometimes I listened to that voice. Sometimes I wouldn't listen. Sometimes I just do my own stuff. But it became so unbearable to the point where I guess I had tried everything I could and it wasn't just working. And then I just decided, because there were so many voices in my head, so many voices. The ones that were speaking louder and louder and bang, bang, bang. Like the one that tells me, are you sure this person is okay? Are you sure something has not happened? It was always so loud that you cannot even force it. But there was a voice that comes in. It comes very quiet. But even though it was quiet, it came with so much peace and rest. Whenever I take heed to that voice, I realize there was often something very calm inside of me. But the other voices were so loud. So I started paying attention to that quiet voice. As I kept listening to that voice and paying attention to that voice, I realized that voice, I started relying on that voice. For example, some days I want to go out. That voice will tell me, wear this clothes. He will tell me what bag to wear, what purse to use. what clothes to wear, what shoes to wear. One of those days I remember I wanted to get something. The voice told me not to wear that clothes. I insisted on wearing that. Apparently I had gained so much weight that clothes could not fit me, and I had to catch an appointment. So I had to now go and wander, searching for something else before I eventually now decided to go for the one the voice had told me originally. And when I wore that fitted very well, and I did what I was going to do. So, but then I started building a relationship with that voice. And then that voice told me that those voices I am hearing, those voices I am hearing, that's the voice of the soul of man that is wandering in the wilderness, that is lost and is looking for answers. This voice told me that voice is not who I am, and that voice is a lie. And of course, if you know that small voice, you know that it never pushes. It's just like goes this way, plant a seed, plant it there, and let it nurture. After months, days, depending on how that seed, that word is received, it's either dead or it blossoms. So because I started paying attention to that voice became my friend. I could even listen to that voice. So since this voice told me that this voice inside of me is God, that voice is my mind, that voice is my real essence. So I said, so you mean me and God are one? He said, yes, me and God have never been separated. That when we talk about separation, when the Bible talks about sin, it speaks about you missing the mark. That, for example, when you are going to point A, and there is a point B, and there is a point C, and then as you're going to point A, you for some reason you got distracted, or something led you to point C, but your original destination was point A. While in point C, when you realize yourself, what do? You retrace yourself back to that road and go back to point A. Or if maybe you took point D instead of going to point A, and you realize yourself along the way that, oh, I have missed my mark, I've missed the road. This is not where I'm supposed to be going. I'm supposed to be heading to point A, and now I'm in point B, D, or point C. What do? You go back to that junction and find your way to point A. And he told me that is the true meaning of sin. Sin is missing your mark. Believing that I am a human being, believing that I am this, and now realizing that no, I am not this. This is who I am. And heading back to the direction where I'm supposed to be. So sin is missing the mark of believing having a false belief that is not supposed to be that. So he was telling me that is your soul who headed towards a wrong direction, and realizing that, oh, this direction is causing me so much pain and so much hurt. Maybe I should retrace myself and find the way back to who I am and where I come from. And if you've watched my previous video, you realize that I did mention that when you are doing this thing, when you are doing this issue we are fixing, we talk to the soul. We don't talk to the personality, because this person might never understand the things of God. It is the soul who needs the treatment. So back to the issue of my trauma. The voice told me, the still small voice told me that when I get to know that I am a spirit being, that the reason why I was this way is because I believed I was a human being. But he is telling me that I am not a human being, I am a spirit being, because I was created in the likeness and the image of God, the pure essence of God. So there is no way I am going through trauma, because I am perfect, I am whole. I am not even Jenny. I'm a spirit being. Because when the case I presented was that I lost my mom, I lost my grandma, I lost my sister, who was my best friend, who is still my best friend. I said, I lost those ones. And I gave all the history. He now told me that, no, you are spirit. You are a spirit being. Because you are a spirit being and you are created in the essence of God, you live in the now. Now doesn't mean that this time, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, or this moment, what's the time? 11:49. This is not what in the meaning of now, in the understanding of God. Now is an unlimited place. It's limitless. And this is where I, as a spirit being, I live in this essence of now. So it's not enough to say that I am mine, I am God, I was created in the likeness and the image of God. It's for me to be who I am. What do I see? That this is my mind. If I understand, I become conscious of who I am spiritually, that this voice is the God in me, the still small voice is the God in me. And that God in me is my mind, that is who I am. Then if I identify myself that I am this God self, then I am completely identifying myself with this identity as my God self. I am realizing that this is who I am. Yes, I thought I was a human being, but I am not. I'm a spirit being in the purest of every essence, everything, every being, everything, every nature in this being, this God self is who I am. So as a God self, I live in the now. Therefore, this journey that I believe myself to be, this image is an image that was conceived by my soul in her sleep. I cannot be a God self. I cannot be a spirit being and I be that image. You get to understand this when I get to the process of creation, that I have to decide who I am. I am this. Are you this God being, or are you this imagined image? Because if you are this God being, this creation, this imagined image that the soul created in her dream, then you have a date of birth, you have a time, you have a history, and it is the history, the time, and the history that is causing you those trouble, those memories, all those things, those trauma, those experiences. Those were the experiences of my soul while she was asleep. All those events, all those incidents happened in that soul in her sleep. But now you have woken up. Your soul this is not who you are. I created you spirit. I never created you a human being. That's what that still small voice. That as I let go of those identity and as I let go of those things that I have believed myself to be, and I self-identified myself with my pure essence, then I realized that this personality, this image that my soul has conceived in herself, in her dream, is not who I am. So I have to let go of that image. I let go of that personality and everything that comes with that. So that was the beginning of my own trauma. So that when those thoughts comes from me, those negative thoughts comes, I was able to look at this and look at those thoughts in the light of truth and realize that, oh, that's not who I am. I used to think I was this being, but I am not. You are going to understand the complete image. We are going to have a full picture when I explain to you the law of creation, so that you can understand it in a much more tangible way. So it brings me back to the question: how do you view yourself in relationship to your problem, the problems you are facing? So this is what I want to propose to you. How to live your life free from stress and trauma is to be able to let go of all your religious belief, your identity, and everything that has hold you into this image, this imaginary self, and self-identify yourself with who you are, how God sees you when He looks at you. That's one of the ways for you to be able to overcome your stress. And this is how I want to recommend to you that this is how you should conduct yourself in the world to be able to be successful, both on an individual level and on a collective level, when everyone gets to understand what is the mind and who you are. Once you accept yourself in the light of how God sees you, it will help you to advance your chances of survival, both on an individual level and a collective level as well. Because this is what ultimately life is all about. Life is about God. God is not only mine. God is life itself. God is mine. God is life. God is God. So when you see God in the purity of who God is, and you see yourself in the light of this truth, not just seeing yourself, accepting that this is who you are, then you are able to overcome no matter what comes in front of you, or no matter what trouble or situation you are faced with. So as in my previous videos, the reason why share videos about their souls. So in my stories about the soul, my hope there is to help you to be able to define what truth is about your own way of living. What is your own truth about God in relationship, in relation to your happiness and peace of mind? So let me know in the comment, what is your truth about God? What do you know God? How do you see God? What are you conscious about God? Let me know about, please just let me know in the comment below. Because I know that when you know God in the light of God's truth, in the pure essence of God, and see yourself in the light of that, that is when you can guarantee that you will find happiness and peace of mind, and even find your own purpose, because your purpose can only be found in God. So for me, how I succeed, how I get to live a life, I get to be strong in difficult time, is that I take what I believe to be true about God. And I also believe that the truth about God that I believe, and I associate that with me, those truths, I become conscious of those truths. I am conscious of the still small voice within me. I have believed that the still small voice is who I am. I believed in my God self. I believe in my invisible self. That is what I have. That is the world. That is my consciousness now. And that is the world I live in. That is my own consciousness. That's my wall. Remember, I did mention how we build our mind is our wall. Our mind is our houses. That is where I get things done. That is how I see life. Because this God in me has the only ability. God is the only one who can bring ideas and manifestation comes to pass. I believe that God is the only being. God created only one man, and that one man is Christ Jesus. And that Christ in me is also likened to the God self, because Jesus Christ said, I am my Father, I am one. If you see me, you have seen my Father. That God self is the one inside of me. So that is my world that I have built for myself. And this world that I have built on myself, the consequences of everything that happens to me originate from this world, originate from this consciousness. So for you, what world have you built for yourself? What are you conscious of? What have you built in your own consciousness? Have you built your world based on limiting self-beliefs, or based on limited human beliefs? So the world you build for yourself is, in a way, what you are conscious of and what you have believed to be true. And that is what constitutes your world. That is how your world have come to be. And that's why they say that you cannot give what you do not have. So if your world is filled of negativity, filled of fear, you are going to be producing fear and negativity. If your world is filled with anger and all those forms of darkness, definitely those are the things that you are always going to be producing, because those are the only things you are aware, you are conscious of.